Hello and welcome to this week's episode of VR Vertigo. I've often said that the state of VR gaming is in rude health, which is more than I can say for the likes of Marathon. VR gaming at its birth has had a difficult time, but not half as difficult as AAA games and the time that they're having. Now let's take Marathon as our example. Its started life was revealed to the public to much fanfare, and then, well, it was roundly kicked in the balls. People didn't like the way Marathon looked. I, however, was okay with it. It wasn't great, but it wasn't really bad. How much more easy this birth would have been had it been developed as a hybrid game. When we look at VR game development, what do we see? We see a bunch of games being developed by pretty much small houses. There are many conversions underway, most notably by Flat to VR Studios, and there's the entire modding community on PC, who not only seem to have their cake, but are quietly eating it and looking very smug in the process. Now we know that the VR user figures across the planet aren't stellar, but they're not to be sniffed at either. There are quite a few people using VR, and it does occur to me that had Marathon the game been hybrid developed, how much would that have changed its initial launch? When we got our first glimpse of Marathon in the wild, well, the criticism came thick and fast. People didn't like the way it looked. The trailer was a bit dodgy, to say the least, and there were the complaints that the new game had strayed so far from the original game that really, was it going to be worth playing at all? Bungie duly walked away with its tail between its legs, vowing to make things better. And all the while, Sony stood in the shadows, looking on intently, knife in hand. And that hasn't changed. But what beggars belief, the most perverse thing about this is the company that bought Bungie owns PSVR2 and is doing the bare minimum to keep PSVR2 on life support. It's heavily relied on its third-party partners. And frankly, it beggars belief that Sony, the company that owns the PSVR 2, didn't develop Marathon as a hybrid game. Oh God. Sony, spelt S-T-U-P-I-D. No, Sony bought Bungie, and rather than take its IPs and think, well, do you know what, this is an ideal opportunity for us to restart our PSVR 2 goals, didn't. They just didn't. It appears as though Sony had other plans for Bungie. I mean, why buy the studio in the first place? Just to shut it down? No, of course not. Sony, over the last few years, has been terminally short-sighted with its acquisitions and its bets on games. Its bad decision-making under Herman Hulst has cost it more than a pretty penny. And VR, which is exploding across the planet as we speak, has chosen to ignore this growth in VR, the thing that it helped kickstart, at least as far as consoles are concerned. And with the imminent release of the Steam frame, there's more competition on the way. This won't be the last time I say this, but the Steam machine and the Steam frame stands to steal everything that PSVR 2 has built. And maybe that's what we're looking at. Maybe Sony is looking at the imminent release of the Steam machine and the Steam frame and is thinking, do you know what? It's just game over. It's just game over. I mooted the point in a previous video that maybe you could plug the PSVR 2 into the Steam machine. After all, Valve themselves said it's your PC, do what you want with it. Maybe that's the plan for the PSVR 2, just to let it live its life out without so much as a buy your leave from Sony. In which case, Sony will have missed the VR bus again. But we have no way of knowing. Sony are so tight-lipped, corporately speaking, we have no idea what's going on. And that suits Sony down to the ground. It's the corporate equivalent of, if I don't look at it, it can't see me. And I'll tell you right now, as far as I'm concerned, what with the price hikes of their kit, $100 across the board, and the generally directionless course that Sony has with regards to its PSVR 2, I hope that you can plug the PSVR 2 into a Steam machine. Because if you can, that'll be my game in future. And I'll quite happily throw my PlayStation 5 in the bin. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Do like, subscribe and share, it really would help. And until next time, bye bye.